I appreciate this presentation a lot. I was surprised pleasantly to see Vanessa, who I work with from time to time. She sends stuff over here. I'm a journalist, by the way.
Even closer to my.
Is that better? um, I wanted to speak just very briefly about the way U.S. propaganda has us worse than ignorant of what goes on in the world. One of the propaganda points that you'll see frequently in the media here points directly at China. While we're watching an actual genocide take place in Gaza, where daily you see, whole villages, whole chunks of cities bombed out, debris of children, 10,000 and counting, 15,000 perhaps by now, murdered by U.S. Military equipment, U.S. proxies. I mean, that's essentially what the so-called State of Israel is. We heard that as an admission from Bobby Kennedy Jr. just now, as a matter of fact. China stands accused of committing genocide in the northwest part of the country, in Xinjiang province. I visited there this past summer. I spent about 3 weeks in China, beginning in Urumqi, which is in the northwest part, in the heart of the so-called Uyghur part of China. This is the group that is supposedly being exterminated. Also, aside from the Uyghurs, there are other Muslims that are, part of the Chinese population that are supposedly being, de-Muslimified. I guess I don't know what the term is that they want to sell, but the idea being that Islam is being banned in China, and there was so. If you think of a map of the United States, China looks generally the same shape without Florida. I don't know how they managed that. And about where Seattle or Oregon would be is where Urumqi is. That's the first city that I went to. And then I went to Xi'an. Excuse me, it's X-I-apostrophe-A-N, which is about where Chicago is, maybe. And then to Nanjing. And then to Dunhuang, about where Salt Lake City is, and then to Nanjing, which is about maybe between Atlanta and Memphis on a map of the United States. I stayed in the Muslim Quarter in each one of these 4 cities, almost a week in each case. Went to the mosques, the main mosques. China has, like the European cities and some American cities, to the extent that they're old enough, an old town in the center. Some of these are 1,000 years old or more, and sort of built out in rings, with the most modern stuff on the outside. These cities are on what they call the Old Silk Road. We had from Madrid or Lisbon, all the way to Beijing, trade going on back and forth over the 1,500 years, perhaps, or more. And over the period of time that this happened, people from Europe, people from the Middle East, people from the eastern part of China, and everyone in between and back, trading, people would stop. I like this place. It's kind of nice. I think I'll stay here. And some of the cities in the interior part of China are a product of 1,000 years or more of that. And so these cities are like that. And the bulk of the population in these cities are, in fact, Muslims. In fact, they were there before there was Islam. And the last point on so I'm setting the stage for something that's going to be a very brief point. The border, even now, in the northwest part of China, with the rest of the area, with India, Bangladesh, and Nepal, and Mongolia, and whatever the hell else is there, is very porous. It's not been enforced at all. You have huge mountains. Himalayas, one of several mountain ranges there, and desert. And so it's just over the long period of time, people just freely go back and forth across these things. And they still do. So I have a friend who is a teacher. She's a college professor at North South University in Dhaka, Bangladesh. She was a member of the U.S. Congress for 12 years. And she teaches political science, grad and undergrad level. She has students who are Muslims. Bangladesh is a Muslim nation, who have relatives all in the area, in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, China, and back and forth. And a year ago, they asked her, they said basically, why is your country lying about China, China trying to exterminate the Uyghurs, China with concentration camps for Muslims and all of this? And she said, well, look, you got a question. This is college. The answer to that is we design a study and we go study it. So let's do that. So they put together a questionnaire, and she and I and another friend of ours went and brought the questionnaire to people in this part of China, asking them, what is your life like? And what are your prospects? How do you feel expressing this and doing that? And all the details that are part of the propaganda package here. Some good detail. I can't tell you the vector between what's presented here and the reality of it. But if you walk through the old towns or the new parts of town in any of these cities, and you meet people every day who are Uyghurs and Kazakhs and Uzbekis and Muslims from that whole from all of Islam, really, from his native territory anyway. They run the place. It's not just that they're not oppressed. It's not just that they're not in concentration camps. They own and run it. And so this is what, when Malcolm X said, the media here will have you believing that the oppressed are the oppressors and the oppressors the oppressed. Said first time, I've seen this in different parts of the world that I've traveled before, but I never saw it manifest like this. These cities you would die to live and work in, coming from New York, okay? If people saw the Tucker Carlson interview and the follow-up to it where he's walking around Moscow saying, holy shit, look at this place. It's like that. These even the backwater cities in China, like Urumqi, they're in the interior. They're not the face of China to the world. They're beautiful. And the last point, several places that we went in, we looked for example, to find people to interview halal restaurants. And it was one of the places we figured we'd find the staff, we'd find the people that run it, we'd be able to talk with them and get some beer and stuff while we were doing it. So in each place, we thought we'd get a good mixture of people, of Muslim people in that particular area that way too. So, and while we were doing that, we met this one family that was running the place, and it's an old town, so it's kind of like if you're in Chinatown or Little Italy or something, sort of low scale, 2-story, 2.5-story buildings, some kind of funky, everything polished, no broken cobblestones in the cobblestone streets, and no peeling paint on the buildings or whatever. But it's not the same as these other cities out. The outside of them is like Moscow. It's like, you hear that music in The Wizard of Oz when they approached Emerald City. The beautiful cities. So we said to them, this is a nice place you have here, but why aren't you out, in this, these gorgeous, 20, 30-story buildings with all kinds of beautiful retail space? And they said, we own it. My father owned it. His father owned it. This is ours. And they had that sense of ownership of the place. So my point, I'm sorry for rambling with this. I wasn't really prepared to speak this long, but they tell us the world is one way. We know it's, I'm going to use a term of political science, bullshit. And yet we don't really have, this is what Diane was talking about before, what Lyndon LaRouche was talking about before. We have to have an image of where we want to go. All right. If you don't like where you are, the first thing you do is establish a destination. Well, if you don't know what is, how in the hell are you supposed to do that? And that's one of the tools that they have operating on their side to keep us mystified, is to not let us know what there is. China is one place that is. I've only spent 3-4 weeks there, but I tell you, looking at it, China is one place that is. Moscow is another. I have spent some good time there and over a period of 30 some odd years. There are lots of other places. I would tell you 20 years ago, Tripoli was a place that is, except Obama bombed it into oblivion. But we have to figure out where we want to go and plot a course to get there. And I think there are some examples on this planet that we can learn from. And I think we need to find ways of bringing those to the people because that'll help open their eyes some to what's going on. And thank you very much.